Welcome or welcome back to scrapbookingstation.com. In this video we're going to take our scrap pieces of patterned paper and make a border for a 12 by 12 scrapbook page. So what I've got is I was working on a scrapbook kit, and so I've got out my designer series paper. This is Beau Chateau. And I've got all my scraps, and so before I put them away I was going to make a border for my personal scrapbook. So I've got all these patterned papers, and I'm also going to pull in some of the solid colors that coordinate with this. So I've got my Marina Mist and Pierrot Pink. And what you're going to need is just glue and your paper cutter. And for this border, the backing is not going to show, so I just use a piece of cardstock, printer cardstock. Okay. I want to make this a little wider because what we're going to end up doing is cutting strips across. So I want to make it a little wider so I can have several strips put together. So I'm using a 5.5 tall by 12 background paper. So we pull out our paper cutter, and what I'm going to do is prep some of these pieces so that they're 5.5 inches tall if they're not already, because I don't want them sticking out beyond my backing. Now all you want to do, now on these papers I've got double-sided patterns. So when I cut one strip, I'm making myself a choice of 2 patterns when I start piecing them together for the border. And I'm going to slice these anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. And you just want to have different widths. And you're going to want to cut several from each of the different patterns. Okay, and if you just continue on until you have a nice stack, which I've done ahead of time, pull out your backing. And I like to line it up with my grid paper, because in this we're going to be going straight up and down, and I want to make sure that I don't start slanting as I go across. And you grab your strips, now starting at the end, the important thing with this border, let me get my glasses so I can see. The important thing with this border is that when you glue, you want to make sure you have a thin line of glue all the way across, because you're not sure where you're going to be cutting across your pattern. And so we just align that there. And you want to put different widths. Now if you want this to go a little quicker, just expand the width of your strips. It just depends how you want it to look at the end. This is also a great technique if you're doing a 2-page layout and you don't want to be entirely matchy-matchy, to include maybe another color that's going to be used on your companion page to make it coordinate a little better. It's also a nice technique if you're trying to incorporate retired colors. And I'm just going to do a couple more. Anyway, you should get the idea. And I just check to make sure I'm not slanting too much. Okay, so you continue across your entire paper, and what you're going to end up with is something that looks like this. So I decided to extend it a little bit because I use this paper a lot. And this way I'll have a section left over. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is cut off so that I'm at 12 inches. So I'll come down here, 12 inches. I like this technique also because it's got a little dimension to it. So when you put it on your scrapbook page. Now I have pieces in here because I am using scraps. They're a little bit shorter, so I want to make sure that I'm not going to inadvertently load that in, put that onto my scrapbook page. So I think my first strip that I want to cut will be a 2-inch border. So I come across. Now make sure you have a sharp blade when you're doing this. Come straight across. And I'd also allow your glue to dry thoroughly. So wait 15 minutes because when you're trying to slice across wet glue, it doesn't work. I'm going to put that aside. And then maybe just a little accent border as well. So I'm going to cut 1/2 inch this way. And I've got this much left over and this much left over. So if I want to, on my companion page, use the same border, I could do that. Or perhaps if I want to back a photo, I've got coordinating paper. It's almost like creating your own pattern paper. So let me bring my 12 by 12 background. And I could position it this way. And then maybe this way. And then I would continue with my layout and use some of these other photos. And I will post that on my page when I get through with that. Now you just don't have to do strips. Obviously, you start thinking and you do something like this brick. And all that's doing is spacing. And this way you get some of your background paper involved in the pattern as well. If that's too much gluing and measuring for you, another way you can use your scraps is by using a large punch, and this goes extremely fast. In this case, there's no background matting paper. All these scallop circles are just applied to that, and that just screams for embellishments inside the scallop circles. And then the last example I have is where I've got scraps. So I just slice them up any old way, put it on a backing, and then trim the backing about, looks like about 1/4 inch around. So anyway, have fun with it. I think it's fast and easy depending on which one you do. And like I said, this way pretty much any solid paper that you use will coordinate with your border. Thanks for watching. See you next time.